Welcome to Tech Talk. My name is MPUMI. The realization that most of the world relies on the internet should prompt us to ask ourselves these questions. How much of my life is dependent on the internet? How much of my personal information is stored online? How much of my business is accessible over networks? How much of my customers' information is accessible over networks? With such a high dependency on computers, neglecting the likelihood of cybercrime in your business is extremely risky and potentially harmful to you, your business, your employees, and your customers. Without a sense of security, your business is functioning at a high risk of cyber attacks. This is Tech Talk on Galaxy, and today we are talking about cybersecurity. With me in studio is Mr. LEHAN from the HEEVER from KASPERSKY, here to help me unpack this. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Now, one or two descriptions of cybersecurity would be, for example, computer security or information technology security is the protection of computer systems and networks from the theft of or damage to their hardware, to their software or electronic data, as well as from the disruption and misdirection of the services they provide. Would you agree with this explanation?
Yeah, it's a very good explanation. It actually covers quite a few of the topics.
Okay.
Cybersecurity is really becoming a part of our lives now. I think where it used to be a profession for, the few, it's now starting to touch people's personal lives.
Yes.
With the merger of everything going online now, the Internet of Things and such, so much of our personal information is out on the web, and we're being, it's exposed. So cybersecurity, from being a profession, has actually moved across a little bit to becoming something we should all be more aware about. We can't just believe that if you have an Apple or a specific type of phone, that manufacturer necessarily takes care of your security for you.
Yeah.
You need to take some ownership in that. So apart from the various different disciplines there is in cybersecurity, definitely the personal nature of it is coming to the forefront. And while this personal pronunciation is becoming more and more, so is the means of the attacker.
Okay.
So it's really becoming quite a bit of a task to protect yourself against emerging threats and the different tools that the attackers are using these days, and what they can do with your data and so on. So there's a lot about this in the news these days. I think a lot of people are becoming a little bit more aware about it.
Yes, true.
It's really important for everyone to start getting into at least understanding a little bit about what cybersecurity is about. So
in other words, the more advanced we get when it comes to technology and the Internet of Things and all of those things, the cyber attackers are getting more advanced as well.
Yes, absolutely. So it's an economies of scale thing. So basically, in the earlier days, malware used to be kind of something that you heard about every now and again. But obviously, everything becomes popular. It becomes commoditized in a sense, and the attackers, as much as the advancement of attacks rises, the demand for those attacks rise at the same time.
At the same time,
So the tools used that used to be very expensive tools in order to create real havoc has also decreased in price.
I see.
So if you want to, for example, buy attacks online, you can do that. There's hackers for hire, there's all these different services.
Sure.
So as much as we are really leaning into becoming more aware about cybersecurity, attackers are just getting better and better tools daily as well. So we need to be cognizant of the fact that we kind of playing catch up all the time to get to that level of being able to prevent attacks against future kind of attacks and the things that can actually disrupt not just your business but your family as well.
That's true. Yeah. So we're going to go through different types of cybersecurity.
Sure.
But I would like us to start with for example, critical infrastructure security. Now, in that case, we're talking about common examples, which are electricity grids, you know, the water purification and so on. Can cyber attackers go into those?
Yes, so actually critical infrastructure is becoming a very commonly attacked arena, and it's quite a different arena to normal information technology networks, in the sense that the protocols and the communication that's used within these infrastructures are not that commonly known to IT people.
Okay.
So there's been a case, not recently, it was in 2012, this is where it actually came to light that infrastructure security needs to become a thing, where actually an industrial NATO nuclear plant was infected with such malware.
Yeah.
And the malware was actually written in such a way that it could manipulate different parameters within the instruction set of the plant, which actually resulted in some of the mechanisms and the machinery in the plant to behave abnormally.
Yeah.
But from the screen that they were viewing it was printing out normal statistics. So actually what happened there is they had to shut down the entire nuclear plant to avoid damage, maybe an explosion.
Yes, of course.
And as of then, industrial cybersecurity has become very, very well described, and you know, the focus is starting to get onto it.
Yeah.
In South Africa, we do have the Critical Infrastructure Bill as well. We've got the MOSH Act. Both of those acts talk about, not as in-depth as we would like, but
yeah, sure.
It does touch on cybersecurity. So you also can't just run the regular cybersecurity stuff on these systems, because critical infrastructure, you know, if it goes down, you sit without power or electricity, or if it's in a mine, you could have machinery fail.
That's true.
So whatever software we put in those environments, the number one thing we think about is keeping production alive whilst protecting the systems.
Is disrupting production the only thing that these attackers are trying to do, or is there something deeper they're trying to do?
Yes, so motivation is different every time.
Yeah.
For example, the example I explained before was politically motivated. So sometimes you get, you know, they mentioned that World War III will be a cyber war. It's very true already. It's just so quiet that we don't know. So a lot of it is industrial espionage. It could be opposing companies attacking each other. It could be nations, state actors. There's various reasons we can see it. But the effect could literally lead to loss of life. I mean, we're talking about critical infrastructure. That's true. You know, so it's a very serious
hospitals,
problem.
for example.
Yes, absolutely. In hospitals, we've seen a rise in those as well, especially during COVID. I mean, unfortunately, the attackers seem to have no moral code. So during COVID, we've seen a massive rise in different types of attacks, as well as that of hospitals. I mean, we remember the Life Hospital group that was attacked in South Africa. Same World Health Organization are fending off attacks on the daily. So yes, absolutely.
So it goes deeper than what we see.
Absolutely. Motivation differs from either monetary to espionage or disruption, or, you know, there's always some sort of motivation. We at Kaspersky try and, in a lot of these big attacks, we get involved in the analysis and the investigation of the attacks. And if attribution is at all possible, we do try and make attribution of who could be behind it.
Wow. Let's get to the next one, application security. I know this one involves antivirus programs, it involves firewalls and all of that. Tell us more, please.
Yeah, sure. So this is like brushing teeth, you know, it's the basics. You really need to have these things in place. So, yeah, you've got your perimeter security. Essentially, that's the first entry levels. That's going to be your firewalls, switches, routers, gateways. Those areas need to be secured. Especially from an, you know, coming into your network. That's the first. That's like the gate at the outside. And then internally, you've got a lot of different technologies that needs to kind of play hand in hand. And this is where the challenge comes in. is that the cybersecurity discipline has become so vast that it's really difficult for CIOs and CISOs these days to really prioritize on which solutions to take and which actually makes the best impact on lowering your attack surface. But obviously, yes, you're right. The basics like putting application protection, so endpoint protection and such, those things need to be in place as well.
Wow. We're going to go on a commercial break, and when we come back, we hear more in connection with cyber attacks and cyber security. Stay tuned. Technologies and systems delivering value across continents.
Feel the heat.
I love Adam Selman.
The girls are really thin. I think it looks very glamorous from the outside.
The life of a model in New York City.
There is such cool prints. So many.
You know, I'm buying this.
Look at me and all the selfie sort of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know that was actually a job. It just didn't occur to me.
Congratulations.
Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're going to put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish. Look at this.
I know.
Like that?
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Do you dream of awesome cartoons filled with funny characters who go on extraordinary adventures?
Everybody ready? Ready!
Hold on, I'm coming!
This is absolute genius.
I'm on my way.
I'm ready.
Titans, go!
Feel the excitement.
Like it? I love it!
Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Just watch this. Let the pictures tell you everything.
It's all the way through!
Oh, what about that? That was really special. Those are the moments that supporters will remember.
Feel the excitement.
That was delightful.
Feel the heat with StarSat. Challenge your ordinary. Experience the extraordinary.
Not only the government, the municipality here has had no plan.
Now, I believe that my peace is my most valuable asset.
Absolutely beautiful!
This is exactly what I was looking for!
Camping! DJ Khaled!
It is a day to celebrate.
We're ready for action.
I like it when it's nice and soft.
Yeah, that is nice.
How was it like growing up in Nigeria? Yes, sir, you know what it is.
Feeling is there that, you know, you're doing something special.
Stop being so dramatic, Mira.
You should just be what you want to be.
Experience the extraordinary with StarSat.
Welcome back. This is still Tech Talk on Galaxy with myself, MPUMI. We're talking everything about cyber security, and we are still continuing to talk about that. But now we need to take a look at more examples of cyber security. For example, network security. Now, common examples of network security implementation would be extra logins, new passwords, antivirus programs, and encryption and firewalls and all of those. What can one do to better manage this?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So networks have always kind of been protected by purely specific devices that are interlinked by wires or network cabling. So yes. It's becoming more and more important these days to know exactly what travels across those lines.
Right.
So in a sense, you're going to start, if you really want to know what's going on in your business, you need to start sniffing your own traffic. For example, there's a solution that they broadly name NDR, Network Detection and Response.
Yes.
We offer such a solution as well. That allows for the capturing of all this data and then analyzing it for any kind of sporadic behavior or threats or anything like that. We also, it's important to, you obviously hear the terms machine learning a lot these days and fourth industrial revolution and all this stuff. But it's an important component to this because a human being cannot act as fast as machines can.
That's true, yeah.
It's just our bandwidth is too slow. So if you are using machine learning in order to look at the behavior of a network, we'll also be able to see anomalous detection. So if anything behaves outside of the norm or whatever it's not supposed to look like, that will be detected and reported on. So yes, networks, very important these days to have not just visibility on your endpoints and at the perimeter, but actually inside the network. How is things moving around? And what do we see?
So it's important to always be aware of sometimes changing the password when you see anything that is irregular or anything that's not going according to what you used to.
Absolutely. So password changing is actually the cheapest and quickest thing that you should do in almost every case. So if something goes wrong and you know that maybe they've acquired access of some sort, a password change out the bat is something that should be initiated immediately.
Sure. Now, cloud security. Now, I know that improved cybersecurity is one of the main reasons why we have cloud security. Is this correct?
Well, yes and no. So cloud security or the moving to cloud is a necessary thing. It allows for just a much wider amount of resources that can be allocated to services. You know, a lot of having your own hardware is very bloated. You pay a lot for the hardware and you only use a small specific piece of the hardware. Cloud allows you to actually spread the butter, kind of to call it like that, across a lot of hardware. The problem with cloud is that now it sits in a place that is visible. It's accessible to everyone. But obviously the main vendors involved in the cloud migration has taken good care of this. They've put certain measures in place. However, if you look at the T's and C's of a lot of these vendors, they do still make mention explicitly of the fact that you are responsible for your security. So on top of the layers of security that they can provide, it's always still very important to consult with the security vendor and ask them to maybe do a bit of a vulnerability assessment and have a look at whether their infrastructure is really as protected as they would like. And then, put the measures in place to obviously circumvent any kind of attack surface problems.
And then getting to Internet of Things. I know that with Internet of Things security, devices are frequently sent in a vulnerable state and offer little to no security at all. This poses unique security challenges for all of us, or all users. Could this simply mean anything connected to the Internet is at risk?
Actually, yes. So pretty much, so as soon as your watch has an IP address or You know, in America they had the story about the baby monitors.
Oh yeah.
That could be accessed from the internet. And you're very right in saying that, you know, if you think about these developers, let's take a baby monitor company as an example.
Yes.
What do you think their core focus as a business is? It's not really the security, it's to get a functional solution. They don't specialize in security, and for a lot of them, security comes as secondary of importance.
Yes.
So they've hacked a lot of these baby monitors, and you can just imagine that is like the ultimate point of you know, invasion of privacy.
Yeah, of course.
So Internet of Things is a very, very fast, rapid growing field, and the security thereof is very, very badly lacking behind.
Okay.
So there are solutions coming to the market, like putting an IoT gateway in place that handles all information or all IoT security that flows through one point out of your house.
Yes.
But then as soon as you leave your house again, you lose that kind of security. I actually bought my daughter a smartwatch the other day with GPS tracking. She's only 5 years old, but I need to know where she is at all times. And obviously, being in the space that I am, did some testing on this little device just to see if it's up to my standard of things that need to be closed and in place.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, very, very easy to get into these devices from the outside. So yes, IoT is something that, again, it's necessary. It's going to make our lives easier.
Yes.
It's going to promote just the living standards and quality of life, but all the vendors out there really need to take stock of the amount of security that they put in place.
Yeah. So in other words, let's not just be taken about technology and all its advances and get excited about all of that.
Absolutely.
We need to consider cybersecurity as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Very important.
Yes.
Sure. Now, we're going to be discussing cyber attacks, different types of cyber attacks. But I would like us to go on a break so our viewers can chew on the cybersecurity that we spoke about. And when we come back, we'll talk about cyber attacks. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Wonderful. Stay tuned. We go on a break, and when we come back, we talk about cyber attacks. Technologies and systems delivering value across continents.
Feel the heat.
Do you dream of awesome cartoons filled with funny characters who go on extraordinary adventures?
Everybody ready? Ready!
Hold on, I'm coming.
This is absolute genius.
I'm on my way.
I'm ready.
Titans, go!
Feel the excitement.
Like it? I love it!
Feel the heat with StarSat.
The power to defeat coronavirus is in our hands. Play your part by following these 5 basic precautions. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water or sanitizer for at least 20 seconds. Maintain a safe distance of at least 1.5 meters from people around you. Wear a cloth mask at all times when in public. Always cough or sneeze into your elbow or tissue. If you're an employer, screen your employees daily for symptoms of COVID-19 and where appropriate, refer for testing. Working together, we can beat the coronavirus. A message from government.
Feel the heat. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat.
Welcome back. We are still talking about cybersecurity. Now we're going to talk about cyber attacks. It's very important that you listen very carefully on what we're going to be talking about, because some of the things we think they are quite normal, and yet they are putting us in risks. You might be under cyber attacks and you don't know it. But after we talk about these things, you'll find out that that's a red light. You need to be careful and get cybersecurity. Now, there's malware. Malware is a term used to describe malicious software, including spyware, ransomware, viruses, and worms, and so on and so on. What's going on there?
Yeah, so basically malware is just a group name to kind of classify malicious software. So software that's developed with malicious intentions. And again, it varies if you look at the time lapse from, let's say, the early 2000s and you look till now. It's really pivoted into becoming very risky in getting infected with malware. You mentioned ransomware. Ransomware is obviously at the tip of the tongue of all security people in the industry. And we thought it would be a bit of a trend, but it's a trend that's not dying off. It's like all-star sneakers. It just stays around. And so ransomware is devastating. If you get hit by ransomware, it's cancer for your business. Everything can get shut down within a couple of minutes. If you think about companies like Maersk, the big container company, Saudi Aramco is now a customer of ours afterwards. They got locked out of their systems as massive global. I mean, Saudi Aramco is probably the biggest business in the world. So yes, malware is just it's a name given to something, but it doesn't rank at all. So it's there's various different types of malware, and the severity levels of them differ quite drastically.
How true is it though that there's some cell phones that are made and manufactured and they come with malware already? How true is that?
Well, again, it depends on the manufacturer. So there has been cases, unfortunately. It's very unfortunate when you find out that a hardware manufacturer has been involved in anything of such sort. Which has happened. Luckily, it happens very seldomly. What I can advise our users and our viewers out there is just be cognizant of the brands. You know, my mother never believed in brand names, but when it comes to technology, it does matter. Make sure that you don't just pick up the knockoff brands. I'm not going to mention any names, but yes, just make sure that you get something reputable. Then you should be covered.
You should be safe.
Yes.
In terms of phishing, I know when it comes to phishing, for those who don't know at home, it's the practice of sending fraudulent communication that appears to come from a reputable source, like from a big company or so, usually through email. What is the goal here? What are they trying to achieve?
Yes, so phishing is a multi-billion-dollar industry, actually. If you look at the side effect that it causes, that's usually what we call the first stage of reconnaissance of your business in an attack chain. So when an attack happens, let's say it's a very advanced persistent threat, which is just another term for a very serious malware case. Usually there's an attack stage that unfolds. Now, phishing is the process of using human weakness against themselves. So we call it social engineering. It's where you promise someone that they've inherited money or something. We know
which is a common one.
It's so common. And now during the COVID period, for example, I've become the local guy that gets sent all these fraudulent FNB and Standard Bank messages with links that don't actually take you to the real websites. So those are all phishing attacks. They phish you into going to or doing something that you're not supposed to do, but you were thinking that you were doing something else. Now the side effect of that is that if that's part of an APT attack or an advanced attack on your business, that's usually step one. If they can get that right, that spawns of a chain reaction inside your organization that can get them to their end goal, and that end goal ranges. Stealing of data or bringing the business to its knees. It depends on the actor.
But it starts with the phishing.
It usually so 90+% starts with phishing,
which
or
is
some
why,
sort of email.
Which is why the banks would tell you that we would never ask you for your password by email.
100%. The banks are doing what they can, and they're doing a phenomenal job at making people aware and creating that awareness. You know, I see myself skipping through those messages, but take notice. Take a quick read through it. Usually the little summary at the top will tell you what's important.
I have an interesting one here. Men in the middle attack. It's quite interesting because a lot of people, when they search for Wi-Fi and they connect, free Wi-Fi, and then they're not aware that there could be an attack from that free Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Which now constitutes to men in the middle attack. Can you tell us more on this?
Yeah, that's very true. So free Wi-Fi is usually, you know, they say there's no such thing as something free.
Yeah.
In some cases there is. So if you're going to like a restaurant and they offer free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But yes, you're quite right. Man in the middle is the process of when your device is trying to connect to a Wi-Fi router, and someone sits in the middle and is able to eavesdrop on everything that's getting sent over that communication channel. So man-in-the-middle attacks have been used in very large cases as well, where it's been used to infiltrate. For example, there was malware called Dark Hotel, and it used to infiltrate high-class hotels, and then specifically try and find high value people that come to the hotel and connect onto the Wi-Fi. And this is a legitimate Wi-Fi. It's just infected with malware. And then they can intercept the communication of these high value people in the organization, in the hotel, connecting to the Wi-Fi. And you can just imagine there's politicians coming in and out, there's business
sensitive information is there.
Absolutely. So yes, Wi-Fi, man-in-the-middle attacks, it's completely invisible to the user. You don't know of anything.
So how can one be aware of this? How can it be avoided?
Well, yes, so number one is be aware of the Wi-Fi that you're connecting to, make sure that it's something that's got security in place. So there's various different types of security. A lot of our newer devices these days, when you connect to the Wi-Fi, it will tell you whether it's secured or not. That's step one, because that's what you can do from your side. But yeah, the rest of it is pretty much just making sure that the institution or wherever you are connecting to your Wi-Fi or to a Wi-Fi source, that you're able to kind of establish how good their Wi-Fi is, or whether it's someone reputable or a business that you regularly connect to. If it's these always on connection points, there's so many of them around. I mean, in the airport, for example, there's like 5 of them.
Of course.
Now, someone can easily sit there with their own Wi-Fi router and just call it always on, and you connect to this router. Now it's intercepting your traffic again. So yes, don't use those generic ones. I wouldn't say don't use them, because I know there's guys that promote those, but it's better to know which ones you are.
So unsecured ones are not so safe.
No. Unsecured ones is clear traffic. You can pretty much see exactly what's coming through that connection. So you can sit with a very basic tool on the other end and see exactly what you are sending from that line.
With denial of service attacks, what's going on there? Denial of service attacks.
Denial of service is an interesting one. We get that regularly on the N1. That's where so to kind of paint a picture for the listeners. Denial of service is like when you've got a highway and there's an accident, and now suddenly 5 lanes are reduced to 1. The amount of vehicles that can pass a certain point then becomes less. So denial of service works exactly the same. It takes a large amount of what we call packets or data, and it pushes it through to a service. Let's call it, in this case, Google.com. But Google has big infrastructure. They won't easily get taken down by denial of service, but you get the idea. And everyone starts flooding this resource with packets. And what happens is that resource is not capable of responding fast enough to these to these influx of attacks. That it inevitably then falls over, and it's not able to serve legitimate customers. That's basically what
it exhausts the resources.
100%, yes. It makes it unavailable. So purely by flooding it.
Sure. And then there's SQL injection, which is structured query language. Now, the injection occurs when an attacker inserts malicious code into a server, and that uses the SQL, as we're talking about it, and forces the server to reveal information it normally doesn't. Is that common now?
Yes, it's still commonplace, unfortunately, because it's actually like Hacker 101. So unfortunately, there are still a lot of developers out there that are maybe not as... It comes down to the example I had about the nanny cams and so on.
Those.
They're not focused on the security side of things. So a lot of developers might have resources online, like a www site. that gets hosted with an SQL database in the back end. Now, depending on the versions and the type of vulnerabilities that those databases might have on them, you can use something as simple as an SQL injection. And the scary thing about an SQL injection is that a kid can Google how to do it. It's pretty much inputting a specific type of attack into a text box or a field where it might ask for username or password. And then the website misbehaves. It doesn't actually give what's supposed to happen. It's actually creating queries into the database and revealing data that it's not supposed to be revealing. So that's what you would call an SQL injection. And again, those attacks range, vary in severity, but they could also be part of an attack chain or a much bigger attack that's busy unfolding on the network. Or it could just pretty much be trying to take down or deface a website, or maybe stealing the database to sell the data or something like this.
So that means that the attackers are actually on their toes all the time.
Absolutely, they're always one step ahead. It's like the movies, you know, the criminal movies. You're always one step behind. And I mean, you kind of need to know how to walk before you can run. So for all the listeners out there, one of the things that we keep hammering on is awareness. We're just not aware enough.
True.
And I know people are getting sick of the word awareness because we're using it in various contexts.
Very true.
But it's one of those things they should actually be teaching kids in school. Is the basic acumen of understanding cybersecurity. We've been given these tools in our hands that are so immensely powerful if you think about what they have. And we just told that whatever you do on there, nothing can happen. You feel so removed from reality. But in fact, it's made the world very small. You can hack someone in Hong Kong right now in a split second and get their data. So no, absolutely, it's something that's evolving fast, and we're always kind of a little bit behind the curve of understanding what's happening and what's going to come. However, just one small thing, for larger businesses and so on, they implement what we call SOCs, Security Operations Centers. These businesses usually have certain features and technologies in place that makes use of all the cutting, bleeding edge technologies to do some predictive analysis. By using stuff like threat intelligence and hunting for threats, where you're actually actively looking in your environment and finding threat that you're not aware of yet. That does exist. So unfortunately, it's like many things. It's only available to the big organizations for now, and it will hopefully eventually, as all information technology works, it will find its way to the common user on the street as well.
You spoke earlier on of people who are influential also getting victimized through cyber attacks. I know recently there had been in the headlines that your presidents and all these influential people got attacked, and they were attacked by the attackers in the cyberspace. You would think that they're highly protected.
Yes, you would. You would.
I mean, there's intelligence, there's this around them, but still, they got attacked.
Yes, this is very true, and it's so the immediate reflex to that is exactly what you mentioned. That if they get attacked, I don't stand a chance. The thing is, humans are humans. Humans make human mistake.
True.
And many times, it's usually not very easy to prove after the fact. But many times it was human error of some sort by the high, influential individual. For example, if you think about some of the attacks we've seen on people's iCloud storages, and then they steal people's photos of Justin Bieber or whomever. That's usually just a very basic error in making the password not very strong, maybe, so no one's immune, unfortunately, and that's why it comes down to the human in this is again the weakest link. We need to get the people more aware. And we at Kaspersky are working on that quite heavily. We are working on a lot of awareness campaigns and teaching and stuff like that. We'll branch out to that a little bit later in the show.
Okay, cool. We're going to go on a commercial break before we do that, and when we come back, we hear more on cyber attacks. technologies and systems, delivering value across continents.
Feel the heat.
Do you dream of awesome cartoons filled with funny characters who go on extraordinary adventures?
Everybody ready? Ready!
Hold on, I'm coming.
This is absolute genius.
I'm on my way.
I'm ready. Titans, go!
Feel the excitement.
Like it? I love it!
Feel the heat with StarSat.
The power to defeat coronavirus is in our hands. Play your part by following these 5 basic precautions. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water or sanitizer for at least 20 seconds. Maintain a safe distance of at least 1.5 meters from people around you. Wear a cloth mask at all times when in public. Always cough or sneeze into your elbow or tissue. If you're an employer, screen your employees daily for symptoms of COVID-19 and where appropriate, refer for testing. Working together, we can beat the coronavirus. A message from government.
Feel the heat. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
I love Adam Selman. The girls are really thin. I think it looks very glamorous from the outside.
The life of a model in New York City.
There is such cool prints. So many.
You know, I'm buying this.
Look at me and all the selfie sort of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know that was actually a job. It just didn't occur to me.
Congratulations.
Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're going to put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish. Look at this.
I know.
Like that?
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with StarSat.
Welcome back. This is Tech Talk on Galaxy, sponsored by Tamani Systems and Technologies. We are still talking about cyber attacks. So there is DNS tunneling, for example. Now, DNS tunneling utilizes the DNS protocol to communicate non-DNS traffic over port 53, for example. Now, it sends HTTP and other protocol traffic over DNS. And there are various legitimate reasons to utilize DNS tunneling. However, there are also malicious reasons to use DNS tunneling VPN services. What are those reasons?
Yeah, so DNS tunneling is something that a lot of attackers use when they want to hide their communication, for example.
Okay.
So it's actually just masquerading of traffic. So at the end of the day, once an attack chain is unfolded on your network, one part of the attack chain will involve them trying to create some sort of persistence, which means that they can always access that website remotely from anywhere in the world with absolutely no problem or no delays. DNS tunneling is one of the methods that they are capable of to do that, because it allows them to hide their traffic as legitimate traffic and then make a connection to the server that's actually hosting all of their malicious tools and communication tools and so on. So it's actually a very common tool that gets used or act that gets used in order to hide the traffic of the attacker.
Okay.
And that makes it even harder for the response teams and the security officers on the site to be able to actually track that traffic and be able to prevent it, let alone stop it. Because if you block DNS outright, you lose your World Wide Web access.
Of course,
DNS, obviously, it resolves the names from www Google into an IP address, for example, as one example. So by just simply blocking DNS, you might actually be taking everyone offline for
closing everything.
Absolutely. So it's just one of the measures that gets used by the attackers in order to kind of hide their traces, hide the breadcrumbs. So
and it's almost invisible.
Yeah, it's basically invisible. If you've got the correct tools in place, IDS solutions, for example, intrusion detection solutions and so on, they are capable of seeing this kind of traffic and analyzing the traffic very, very closely.
Yes.
But unfortunately, again, some of these more advanced security solutions are only deployed at the more advanced sites.
Yes.
So the smaller companies, for example, don't necessarily have the means to put all of these detection mechanisms in place. So they can fall prey for these attacks a little bit more easily.
Yeah. Wow. My brother, thank you so much for giving us such information. What you've given unto us now and the viewers will make them very much aware that there's different types of cyber attacks. And you mustn't be comfortable. Also in your business, just be comfortable and not take precautions of putting cybersecurity in place. With those words, we're going to go on a commercial break and thank our guests for joining us today.
Anytime.
And stay tuned for more.
Technologies and systems delivering value across continents.
The power to defeat coronavirus is in our hands. Play your part by following these 5 basic precautions. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water or sanitizer for at least 20 seconds. Maintain a safe distance of at least 1.5 meters from people around you. Wear a cloth mask at all times when in public. Always cough or sneeze into your elbow or tissue. If you're an employer, screen your employees daily for symptoms of COVID-19 and where appropriate, refer for testing. Working together, we can beat the coronavirus. A message from government.
Feel the heat. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat.
Welcome back. This is Tech Talk on Galaxy, and we have 2 gentlemen who are coming from Kaspersky and are here to tell us about cybersecurity and cyber attacks. And right now we have Mr. RESHENN DHEWNARIAN, and he's going to be talking to us about the more business side and what they can do to make sure that cybersecurity is in place. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I'd like for you to take us through and tell us about Kaspersky in enabling cybersecurity skills in South Africa. What are you guys doing to do that?
All right. So I think it's important to understand, as a country as a whole, one of the key focuses for us right now is skills in cybersecurity.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of different vendors, there's a bunch of different education solutions that's available.
Okay.
But how do we actually standardize? How do we look at cybersecurity holistically and say, this is the right methodology that we need to understand. This is how we educate our people in universities, in businesses. This is the standard that actually we need to follow as a country.
Okay.
So last year in October, there was a session that was the Russia-South Africa Summit. And one of the key pillars that were spoken about there was cybersecurity and skills enablement in South Africa.
Yeah.
So as Kaspersky, what we've actually done was we've actually taken up the initiative to drive skills in South Africa. And how we've done that is we've partnered with a company called the ICITP, which is the Institute of IT, Chartered IT Professionals, who actually has the Chartered CIO Council on their business portfolio as well.
Yes.
And we've been working closely with them to actually accredit the various levels of cybersecurity training within Kaspersky.
Okay.
And this is not brand specific, it's agnostic to any environment.
Okay.
So, for example, the entry-level cybersecurity training universities offer all organizations, and they will be certified in cybersecurity. We have an MBA level cybersecurity course, which steps up to the next level.
Yes.
Then we have platform-based cybersecurity, which actually has, threat simulated environments to show people this is a simulated threat. This is how you actually defend against these things. Okay. And some of them are actually a year-long modules, which enables people.
So you're saying they are available already?
They're available already. So the accreditation is actually taking place at the moment.
Yes.
That signature has been done, and we will have an award ceremony taking place probably next week.
Wow.
So it's quite exciting. And look, we have a go-to-market plan to enable not just universities, but businesses, IT professionals, and right up into your advanced, reverse malware engineering environments, your forensic investigations into cybersecurity. So it's quite a professional environment that we are enabling, and people now have the opportunity to have accreditation next to those, courses.
Which will help a lot.
Absolutely.
But tell me though, how does this type of skill enablement create jobs and new opportunities for students, for example, who are in IT?
Okay, so if you have a look at IT as a whole, I mean, IT is the future, digitization, Industry 4.0. Now, if you look at Industry 4.0 as a whole, I mean, you've got various types of environments, from big data to DevOps, and you name it.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the gaps in these environments, what is the gap? What is the common gap? Cybersecurity. How do you enable these and secure those environments? Now, if you look at students that are studying IT in general, you can study business intelligence and that sorts, which has its job groupings.
Okay.
But now cybersecurity is a specialized environment that creates more jobs. It's an up and coming environment, so we can actually go in and train our people on how to secure an IoT environment, for example.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Let's secure a big data environment. Let's secure an OT, operational technology environment.
Yes.
So we can enable these people with the skills. Number one is the knowledge. Put them into a learnership environment so they can learn the skills required. And hence we're creating a whole new industry in cybersecurity from a skills perspective.
And these are skills that are so scarce when we look at what's going on right here, which is why cybersecurity is quite a problem.
Correct. Awareness, skills in South Africa is a massive issue. I mean, you have your banks, and you have your big FSI, and your big massive governmental environments that have people that have these skills. But everywhere else, there's gaps. So,
is this opportunity only available in South Africa, or can it be extended to the rest of the continent?
So, if you look at the accreditation that we have, I mean, our accreditation, our SACO accreditation, is actually recognized across the the African continent. So this type of model can be duplicated into Africa. We set the trend here, we enable here, and offer those into the various additional countries. In fact, that's how Africa looks at South Africa, right? As a trendsetter.
True.
So now we have the channel and the ability to take that education from a cybersecurity perspective into Africa.
Wow. So why though did you choose to join Kaspersky? And that's an interesting question. I mean, seeing that you have worked for some of the biggest system integrators in South Africa, why this one?
Okay, so if we have a look at the the system integrator environment, I mean, systems integrators sell pretty much everything under the sun. And fortunately, I have had the opportunity to work with multiple platforms, from your ERP vendors to your again DevOps, open source, you name it. I've worked across these different platforms and different pillars. And the reason why I decided to number one focus on cybersecurity is because if you look at the gaps between all these platforms, what is the one common I would say trait between all of them, or technology between all of them? especially with Industry 4.0 enabled cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity, yeah.
Right. And then, you know, when I engaged with customers, one of the biggest challenges they had was, okay, you're enabling this massive IoT environment. How do we secure it? And then the guys sit back and like, okay, that's your problem. No,
Yeah.
look, they do have some sort of solution.
So you come with a solution now.
Exactly. So the reason why I joined Kaspersky per se is, number one, from a vendor perspective, I've done my research into this organization. And if you look at, you know, what makes up a cybersecurity organization, what makes a proper defense mechanism work for such an organization?
Right.
It is, number one, I believe strongly in the threat intelligence that a company holds.
Yes.
And if you look at Kaspersky, for example, I mean, they work with the likes of Interpol. They work with the likes of Europol.
Okay.
They investigate some of the world's greatest threats.
Okay.
In fact, I believe that they're number one in terms of researching these types of threats.
Okay.
Now, sure, you know, there's lots of information around, you know, your malware threats and your targeted attacks.
Yes.
But then you have cyber weaponry, which is coming now into South Africa at a massive, massive scale.
Yeah.
And in my mind at that point in time, I almost predicted, you know, this is going to happen at some point. Because as we open up the industry to IoT and Industry 4.0, you're opening up the industry to attackers that use artificial intelligence, that use machine learning.
And they've been ready. They've been waiting for this opportunity.
They've been waiting. In fact, we were under attack for a while. And we didn't know about it because we couldn't detect these types of signatures.
Yeah.
So the reason why I joined Kaspersky is when I researched them, I found that their team, they call them the great team, the global research analyst team, which is, there's very few of them in the world. I believe there's about 200 or 300 of them in the world. And we have over 40 of those researchers that work for Kaspersky globally.
Yeah.
And they have the ability, you know, or they are actually currently working in the dark web, identifying these cyber weapon threat actors. And that information is then now fed into our solutions and fed into our environments that we can protect people against. And that's one of the main reasons why I chose to join them.
Why do you believe, though, that Kaspersky is the South Africa choice, or South African choice, for enabling the cyber-safe environment for the public sector, for example, for the private sector, and for the general public?
All right. So if you have a look at, first of all, the relationship Russia has with South Africa, we have the BRICS relationship.
Okay.
Russia is a first world country.
Yes.
It has, you know, they've enabled themselves from a cybersecurity and technology perspective. I would say, you know, they actually keep up with the rest of the world, with America and that sort of thing. But they keep it sort of close to themselves. They keep it quite close to their the Russian environment, and obviously the countries they work closely with.
Okay.
Now, if we have a look at South Africa, we've got that relationship.
Yes.
And it's open, free conversation, open, free, I would say, integration of knowledge share. So with the summit that took place last year, you know, there's already agreement between our government and the Russian government to actually enable cybersecurity in South Africa, number one.
Okay.
Number two, going back to the skills enablement portion of it, and we've taken the next step.
Yes.
We are actually bringing credited training into the South African environment, where our students can go and study cybersecurity and have a qualification against it.
Yes.
And then the second level with that is also the solutions that we have. And LEHAN actually mentioned, you know, some of the solutions and the techniques that we utilize to defend the country.
Yes.
We already have the technology available here in South Africa. We have the skills here in South Africa. And I believe very strongly that, number one, in the private sector, we have the ability to go now and actually influence and educate people and up the, I would say, the from the SME level businesses up to your corporate level businesses very strongly. Number one, skills as a prime focus, and number two, moving into the technology space. From a public sector perspective, there are massive gaps there in terms of skills.
Yes.
And again, going back to the skills enablement.
True.
I mean, we even have solutions that are managed, fully managed solutions that defend against these advanced attacks. Now, our focus is not to sell, you know, or actually offer a solution to a government and say, here's a solution, we'll manage you for the rest of your life. No, that is not what we focus on. What we focus on is saying, okay, let us manage you for a year, and let us enable you. Let's enable your people in your environment.
Yes.
Let us take you to the next level.
Yes.
And create that skills development in terms of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And then slowly start to streamline and bring in further advanced technology right up to your security operations center type of operations within government, for that matter.
Yeah. Wow. Mr. RESHENN, you've given us so much information on why you chose to start in South Africa. And it's remarkable that now the skills part of it is going to be taken care of, which is something that has been lacking for years. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. And we hope that you will come back for more and share with us more on this topic. But thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
To our viewers at home, thank you very much for joining us. And we hope that in this episode of cybersecurity, you've learned a lot and you've taken a lot and you are now aware of certain cyber attacks that are happening in your own personal space. Until the next time, in our next episode, stay safe, stay tuned, and we'll see you later.
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in fourth industrial revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with